You have it all in your heart and in your soul, but all you need is a little guidance. Welcome to Motivational Radio Friends with your host, Longi Agoha from Paris.
Hello, once again, thank you very much, our listeners, for being there. Welcome to our weekly lively radio program called Motivational and Inspirational Hour. In our today's program, I shall be dealing with the merits and the demerits of being a single or team player as it relates to achieving success in life. Working alone may be the key to better productivity. According to Dr. Tim Welsh of the University of Calgary, Faculty of Kinesiology, who carried out this research, said that regardless of our intention, having an individual working on a different task within your field of vision could be enough to slow down your performance. The question is, do you agree on this research and its findings? In this two-part program, I shall first enumerate the positive and negative aspects of working alone, and in the second part, deal with the downside of working in a group, and finally throw some light on the relationship or achieving success with working alone or in a group. I know basically that it takes two to tango, as the saying goes, and it also takes two to make a team. Let us first consider the advantages of working alone. Nothing is completely neutral. Working alone provides us with the possibility to act and decide fast without the need to consult our partners or anyone for that matter to seek approval. You take charge of your life and have nobody to blame should anything go wrong. In one word, you are the master of your destiny. There have been many examples of people who have succeeded alone without the help of people around them. A case in point is that of sportsmen. They are individual sportsmen, although they have a team around them like doctors, psychologists, and coaches. When the chips are down, they go into the boxing ring, track and field, or any other stage to perform their jobs alone, irrespective of those around them. The same also goes for businessmen. Some people prefer to go into business alone in order to put their dreams into reality so as to avoid naysayers telling them that they cannot do this or that. Some people also want to work alone to prove to the world that they can survive alone without the help of other people. Another example that is that of distractions. When you work with people, you have a tendency to be distracted, okay? So when you work alone, for example, distractions are reduced to the barest minimum. You can change directions should anything or should you notice any anomaly. People who are serious and work alone tend to produce more than those working in a team. Okay, here are some lists of positive points of doing business alone. First, you can make swift decisions. That is, you can change your mind at will. You can take a decision radically fast and change your mind quick without consulting anybody, without asking for approval, without asking somebody, what do you think of this decision? Should I change my mind? Should I change the project? Should I invest more? Should I invest less? Or should I invest more time? And the list goes on. So swift decision is one. Second, you are action oriented. That is, you focus your mind on a particular thing and do that thing, and not waiting for people to decide what to do, how to do it, when to do it. So action oriented, swift decision, and you're focused. People who work alone tend to be focused. When they are focused, they produce more things. They are more creative. When you work alone, you have a tendency to think about everything that is possible in this world to make your dream come true. So they are more than necessarily creative. They are really, really creative people. Because they have to think of 1 million things at once. They are the chief engineer, they are the chief project manager, they do everything. They are, in fact, the lords in the business on whatever they are doing. So they also take all the credit. Yes, let's face it, when everything goes right, you take the credit for making it work for you. So you are focused, action-oriented, swift decision takers, creative. And next one is develop their own method. Because they know themselves, they know how to work, they know what it takes to get things done. They do the things that are necessarily good and possible for them to do in order to get results. Because, like I always say, people judge you based on the results you get. So if you get results, the accolades is for you. You develop your own method and put into action those methods. The work in harmony. Let's face it, you can't quarrel with yourself, right? So if you can't quarrel with yourself, then you don't have problems. So they tend to work in harmony because you know yourself. You know when to work, when not to work, when to stop, when to go for recreation, when to sleep, and when to work. And they tend to work long hours to put their dreams into reality. So these are some of them. Not all of them. They are totally in control. People who work alone are totally in control of their lives, all their business, or whatever they do, because they know that their decisions will change their destiny, their productivity, their performance, their actions will get them results. And for you to get results, you need to do something about it. That is basically some of the things, that the merits of working alone. When you work in a group, that's a different show. But you tend to be action-oriented, a sweet action-oriented person, focused, creative, taking all the credit yourself, develop your own method, work in harmony, and totally in control. That is all the positive aspects of working alone. There are many others productive, but these are some of the ones I have decided to give you so that you would know exactly what it takes to work alone. Now let's go to the negative aspect, because nothing is neutral. Like I said, there are some negative aspects also of working alone, because when you work alone, you need to work long hours to accomplish much. If you work in a team, don't forget the work is divided, so you have a tendency to do less or do just one part, bring a whole, because when other people are involved, they do their own bit as well. But if you work alone, you tend to work long hours to get tangible results. So productivity might not be very high because of the fact that you have to be, you are the accountant, you are the engineer, you are the architect, you are everything, the secretary, you are the receptionist. You are alone, taking decisions, making things happen all in one bit. And sometimes it's very difficult. So you need to work long hours to accomplish much or to get more results. Second, absence of helping hands or someone to share your problems with. When you work alone, you are everything, and sometimes it is very difficult, because when you have a decision to make, for example, you need to talk to somebody, you want to speak to somebody, and sometimes you have difficulty finding someone around you to discuss with or to tell your problems and say, okay, how would you see this kind of thing, or how would you, if you were in my shoes, what would you do? Since you're working alone, you might not have such possibility, and so you tend to solve problems alone, and sometimes it's not very easy, okay, to have somebody around you that will help you to decide what to do and how to do it. And so sometimes you tend to make mistakes because of that aspect of not having anybody to consider any line of action before you put it into practice. Next is the absence of self-motivation. See, people are, when you're motivated, you tend to produce more. So self-motivation is very important. But the problem is, if you don't have that capacity to motivate yourself, it will be very difficult to stay motivated all through your project. So that you lack that self-motivation, because if you are in a team, you motivate one another, or you're motivated by people around you who are working, who are producing. You want to be like them, you want to copy them, you want to emulate their ways of working or style of working. But if you're working alone, you don't have these things in around you. And so sometimes if anything goes wrong, it might take you hours to come back to your normal situation. And so you lack that because of the fact that you work alone. You lack that self-motivation. The absence of support. Yeah, we all need support in life. Sometimes it's very difficult to go it alone, to climb the mountain alone. When you look back sideways and in front, nobody around you to give you that moral support. You see, moral support is very important, not to talk of other supports. But then, these are the things you lack if you're working alone. You might not get this support, self-motivation, and you work long hours to accomplish much. And that's very difficult sometimes to get. The next step is the absence of feedback. You see, we need a kind of feedback to know exactly where we're going to. If we're doing things wrong, if we're going the right way, you need someone to look at your result and say, hey, this, if I were you, I would do it this way. Or why don't you consider doing it this way? Because it might give you a better result if you do it that way. You see, these are the things you would lack if you are working alone. When you work alone, there's an absence of feedback. You need feedback to readjust your actions, to correct your mistakes if there are any. And you will lack this if you tend to go it alone. If you're working alone, you will lack feedback, and that's not very good. Your result might be faltered because of that, because of the fact that you continue moving forward, believing that what you're doing is right, while on the other hand, it is not. So you need to have feedback to check if your actions are right or wrong. When you work alone, you have all the work to do alone. You have all the work alone. And sometimes it's very, very heavy to carry all the problems on your shoulders. So it weighs you down if you work alone. So these are some of the negative aspects of working alone. So we've been able to throw light on the positive and negative aspects. Let me run down again the positive aspects. I said you have a tendency to be swift in your decisions. You take decisions very fast without waiting for anybody to tell you exactly when to do it, how to do it, and all that. So reaction is very fast. Second, you're action oriented, meaning that you can decide to start at 9 o'clock and work non-stop till 12 midnight if you can. You take action immediately. You don't have to wait long hours to get consensus from all the members before an action plan is put into place. You take action immediately. Once anything comes into your mind, boom, you start immediately without waiting for approval from anybody. Third, you're focused. You know exactly what to produce, when to produce it, and how to produce it. So you are focused 100% and you get results. You tend to be creative. People who work alone are more creative because they think of 1 million things at a time. So their brains are always finding new ways of getting things done and putting things into action. The next one is you take all the credit. Yes, let's face it, when you get results, because that's what counts, people would always cheer you up for that, for the result you get, and you take all the credit because from the beginning you did it on your own. Okay, so you develop your own method. That's the next one. You have a method of working because you know that you don't have 20 hands helping you, so you need to find a way to develop that method that will work for you, that will get you results. That's it. Next one is you work in harmony because you can't quarrel with yourself. You don't have to have problems with yourself. And finally, you're totally in control. You are the master. Nobody to seek approval from. You take decisions, and those decisions are based on your perception. And on the negative front, you need to work long hours to accomplish much. Told you, if you work alone, you tend to work and work and work and work, produce something tangible. Absence of helping hands. So when you work alone, you don't have anybody helping you. So the problem is on your shoulders. You need to carry all of them at the same time. Your absence of self-motivation. When you're not motivated, you don't produce more. Next one is the absence of support. When you don't have the support from anybody, you tend to work either less or produce less, because of the fact that you need to work, you need support from people to produce more, to be more effective. The absence of feedback. You need to have feedback on your in order to check what you've done and how far you've done it. So these are the negative aspects. And then the heavy workload. Like I said, you tend to work your head out to produce something, which might not be the case if you're working in a group. So these are some of the aspects I have written out today to discuss about the aspects of getting things done all alone, working alone in life. Is it something that you would prefer? Is it something that I know that some people would like to work alone because they tend to produce more because of the fact that they don't want anybody to breathe down their neck and telling them what to do and how to do it. They want to become the masters of their lives. And this is some divisions our research today. Thank you very much for listening. I shall come your way next time. Thank you. This podcast was brought to you by the Motivational Radio France with their host, Longiago and Barris.